Alright, so this is going to be a review for IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Volume 1 through 7. I'm strictly reading the ones that are being written and drawn by Kevin Eastman. I have not read the one-shots which came before this, nor am I interested in the Infestation crossover, which is taking place in another Turtles miniseries. With the 7 issues I've read, I can safely say that Eastman has done terrific work with this series thus far. The art is really good. The writing is really good. Now, I think really my only complaint about this is, well, it's not really a complaint. It could have easily been a complaint, because where I compare this series to thus far as it's coming out is kind of how I feel about Action Comics. The series is busy trying to establish history, bringing in a good bit of the Turtles mythology, but yet not overwhelming the reader, kind of in the way that Action Comics is doing by overwhelming the Superman mythology. And he's able to balance out his characters pretty well. Case in point, Casey Jones, when he's brought in. It seems at first that everything falls into place a little too easily at points for a lot of the characters, but with Casey, I kind of accept it. It's not like where, like, I would compare Casey being brought in like what they did with Steel over in Action Comics, but they've managed to handle Casey Jones better by having him actually take a little more screen time in here as opposed to Steel over in Action. So, and I apologize if I keep rambling about this, but Action is the best comparison that I can give to this series in terms of how it's laid out. The fan service is really well handled in this. We have some enemies which are combinations brought from the comics, some from the movies, and some from the television show. I think 2 of the best nods from the television series are a villain which is introduced in here by name, but doesn't actually show up until issue 7. But it's still a good look to lay eyes on him once you see him. And I like the transition that they do with the masks as well, because they start out with the all red masks, and then how they transition over to the masks that a lot more fans are familiar with, where they have like the different colors for each one, is pretty good. And while Eastman is kind of rebooting and letting everything fall into place, he's able to put some new twists on this, which are pretty good. By the 4th issue, we got kind of this thing that kind of expands the father-son relationship in between Splinter and the Turtles, and there's kind of like this is a mystical thing in between them, which is kind of referenced. Well, kind of backtrack a little bit. We get the origin of the Turtles retold in a lot of flashback sequences, and basically they're the products of genetic engineering along with Splinter. But then we get in issue 4 kind of like a backstory, which kind of explains how Splinter feels in a fatherly sort of way towards the Turtles. And it was good, and then before I picked up issue 5, I kind of figured out where it was going, and when I read the issue, my suspicion was confirmed. But it's predictable, but it's still a really good twist. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. And then we get some new twists in here as well. I like, for a change, instead of, because we do have a little bit of brotherly animosity going in this series, it's kind of refreshing for a change. Instead of seeing Leonardo and Raphael always at each other, in this case we have Leo and Donatello going against each other. And I think out of all the Turtles, well, they kind of hang on Raphael being like the independent one for a time, because there's a part of the story where he's suffered amnesia and doesn't remember who he is. And then he meets Casey Jones, and they get jumped by this cat who was a bit of an enemy to Splinter. I thought their connection was okay. But Raphael's story was pretty good, but Donatello has a really strikingly good center for character development in that when the explanation about the mysticism of the Turtles and Splinter's father-son relationship works, I think it's kind of funny how Donatello can sit there and accept a lot of science and accept the science of how they came to be, but then he starts to question a little bit of the supernatural, and he is such of a scientific mind that he just can't accept it right off. So I thought that was a pretty good conundrum to give the character. And then we have a lot of other fan service which is introduced too. They play around with the Shredder a little bit. They play with a foe of the Turtles, which is brought in and kind of gives them the fight for their lives, so to speak. And I thought this was really good. I'm kind of rambling about this. I'm giddy. It's touched off a lot of nostalgia with me. And I give it 2 thumbs up. Thank you, Mount Vernon Kid, for the recommendation of this series. I'm adding this to my pull list, and I think you should give the first 7 issues a shot. Be well worth your money.